Voila! In view, a humble vaudevillian veteran, cast vicariously as both victim and villain by the vicissitudes of fate. This visage, no mere veneer of vanity, is a vestige of the vox populi, now vacant, vanished. However, this valorous visitation of a bygone vexation stands vivified, and has vowed to vanquish these venal and virulent vermin, vanguarding vice and vouchsafing the violently vicious and voracious violation of volition. The only verdict is vengeance, a vendetta, held as a votive, not in vain, for the value and veracity of such shall one day vindicate the vigilant and the virtuous. Verily, this vicious swirls of verbiage veers most verbose, so let me simply add that it's my very good honor to meet you, and you may call me V.
Are you like a crazy person?
Welcome to the Regular Guy Vikings Hour. Thank you once again for visiting the channel. And for this episode, we're actually doing a game preview of the Vikings at Bears Monday night game, which is happening tonight. And I'm going to shorten down this segment quite a bit than what I was doing last year. I'm actually just going to do 5 things that I'm really focused on for this game, and then I'm going to do a what do I want, what do I expect, and what will I settle for. So to start us off, these aren't in any particular order, just 5 things I jotted down that I'll be kind of keeping a close eye on and just thinking about and wondering about for this football game. And first off is really just the Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson quarterback coach combo. So as we know, Ben Johnson is a highly touted offensive coordinator from Detroit who basically made that Detroit offense, practically the best in the league, if not the best in the league for 3 years running. And then he comes to Chicago as the head coach. And I have to admit, last year, the idea of Ben Johnson taking his offensive talents, his offensive, mental talents to Chicago and turning Caleb Williams into a great quarterback really scared me. But now that I've kind of seen these two together, or at least I've heard about it. I haven't technically seen it, but I've heard about it throughout the offseason and the preseason. I've seen enough reports. I've seen enough reporters talk about it that so far it sounds like it hasn't really been all that smooth. And there's still quite a few of these, these negative reports and stories coming out about Caleb Williams where you really are starting to question whether or not this guy has what it takes to be even a good quarterback in the NFL. So this combination is really interesting. And I think on its surface, on paper, you think to yourself, whoa, the number one pick and then the offensive coordinator who's been leading number one offenses together, yeah, that looks like a match made in heaven. But honestly, I don't know if the personalities are a match. And so we're catching these guys on the very first week of the season, so they're clearly not going to have everything ironed out yet. And I expect there to be a lot of hiccups along the way. And so hopefully we can expose some of those problems in the first week. And if they do end up being a successful combo together, at the very least, I don't think it will be in week 1. So I think that is something, at least for now, that we can take advantage of, and then we'll see what they look like going forward. The second thing that's really on my mind are the injuries with the Bears secondary. So we know that TJ Edwards, their linebacker's out, although that's not the secondary. The guy I'm really thinking about is quite possibly their best defensive player, which is Jalen Johnson, who I think is questionable going into this game, and maybe at this point we know whether or not he's playing. And then another guy, Kyler Gordon, I believe a safety, popped up on their injury report either yesterday or early this morning. And so I'm just curious what their secondary is going to look like going into this game, because clearly we don't necessarily know what J.J. McCarthy is going to look like either, and whether or not he'll be throwing the ball down the field. But certainly if the Bears secondary is injured and Jalen Johnson doesn't play and he's replaced in the lineup by a guy like a Nahshon Wright, I think we will see that game plan change, and I think you will see McCarthy try and push the ball down the field. Because we got a small glimpse at Nahshon Wright with the Vikings. He was on our practice squad, and I don't think he got called up for any games, but I think I saw him in the preseason, if I'm remembering correctly. And he is really tall and lanky and like a long strider. He is not good with quickness, and he just struck me as a guy who really struggles. I know he was a relatively high pick, like a second or third round guy, and maybe they were just hoping that he could take that length and then package it with, like, short area quickness and speed, but I don't think that's the case. So I think that if Nahshon Wright gets any kind of significant playing time, I think we have an opportunity to really take advantage of that with guys running open deep down the field, and maybe we can hit some big shots tonight. So we will see what happens and whether or not Johnson and Gordon play. The third thing that I'm thinking about is the field conditions. I've just seen some pictures come out of what the field looks like, and it looks honestly like crap. And I just got to say, Chicago is a legacy team, and they're supposed to be, they're, one of the biggest media markets in all of, the NFL stratosphere, if you will. And it's the kind of, I don't know why such a proud and well thought of organization acts like such a, stepchild. It's like, They do weird things with money. They seem to be cheap in certain areas. And, this is just the kind of thing that you would expect from maybe, the Jaguars or the Browns. And to have the Chicago Bears literally in a featured Monday night game in the first week of the season. And listen, I get it. They had a bunch of concerts and stuff. But I just think maybe you could plan that out a little better, because it looks like your priority is making money, right? Getting these concerts and getting all that concert money in, and not prioritizing your team and having the best field possible for the very first game of the year on Monday night. It's just a bad look for the Chicago franchise. So anyway, I don't love the way the field looks. I don't know how it's going to affect the game. I'm certain the footing's going to be terrible, so we'll see how that affects receivers, running backs, etc. And if any of our guys get injured, I'm going to be pissed. So, yeah, it's definitely on my mind. So those field conditions, they worry me for sure. I'm not saying it gives any one particular team or player an advantage. I'm just saying I don't like it. So number 4, you could call this basically the number one thing, but it's like now that we've had J.J. McCarthy within the organization for a year and a half, he just hasn't played a snap of regular season football, and tonight it's finally going to happen. And so I just wonder what it's going to look like. Is he going to look like a kid, or is he going to look more poised than that? Is he going to look like he's, ahead of the curve and acting like a veteran out there? Is he going to, I don't know, is he going to be a little bit too excitable? I remember back in Favre's younger years, right? He would always start the game. It felt like the first couple of drives he was overthrowing everybody. He just couldn't get his excitement and his nerves down. And so I'm just curious. I love everything about McCarthy. I love his pregame rituals and all that, and how he keeps himself centered and even. And so I don't think that'll be a problem for him, but I'm just super, super interested to see what he looks like. It's very exciting times for us. Yes, we've had young quarterbacks come up through the system, right? Like a Bridgewater and like a Ponder. But this is honestly the most excited I've been about a guy since Dante Culpepper. So, we're talking, 25 years? So it's been a really long time since I felt this kind of excitement about a potential true franchise quarterback going forward. And I just hope they unleash him. I hope that they don't have him, just acting like a check down Charlie all game and not even looking down the field, because if there is one thing I worry about when it comes to the passing game, is I just don't want us to forget that Justin Jefferson is a Hall of Fame level player, okay? And you can't have Hall of Fame level players having a year where they catch 80 balls for 1,000 yards and 5 touchdowns. He's so much better than that. And I'm not saying he has to get 2,000 yards, but the guy needs to get over 100 catches. He needs to go over 1,500 yards. And frankly, the guy needs to be catching more touchdowns. They need to be looking his way more often in the end zone. And so he needs to go for at least over 10 touchdowns. That's where I put the bare minimum. I want him to go for 15 at least. So I really want the offense to not forget about our big playability just because big arm Sam Darnold is gone. McCarthy's got a big arm too, so I hope we're looking down the field, especially in this game, and I hope we hit some big plays. Okay, and then finally, it's special teams. It's always special teams when it comes to Chicago. They are... I'm sure there's data to back this up. I tried to look into it once, and I couldn't really find the data that I needed. But they are such a charmed franchise when it comes to, return touchdowns and just, making things happen in special teams, especially at Soldier Field. And this has been going on since I've been a fan for, 35 years. So going into this game, we have some question marks, right? We have Miles Price, an undrafted free agent rookie at both punt returner and kick returner for this game. And I mean, are we going to make mistakes? Are the Bears going to, is McCarthy going to throw a pick six, knock on wood? Are we going to see these weird Chicago Bears Soldier Field things happen that we've kind of grown accustomed to over the years, where they get like a fumble return touchdown or an interception return touchdown, or some kind of like a punt return, muff, fumble return, all this kind of stuff? We need to have a clean game and avoid mistakes and not let the Chicago Bears do their Chicago Bears thing, because that will just... I mean, it's going to change the trajectory of the game. Even if I've seen games like this against Chicago where you're kind of sort of dominating them the entire game. You're winning time of possession. You're not turning the ball over. You're outgaining them in yardage. And you look competent. You look good. And you look like you're winning. But they're just hanging around and hanging around and hanging around. And then something weird will happen. They get some weird, wacky play, and then they end up beating you. And that's just the last thing that I want from this game. So special teams is going to be a big item, I think, for tonight. So let's talk about what I want, what I expect, and what I settle for. Okay, so what I want from our Minnesota Vikings is I want domination in the trenches on both offense and defense. I don't necessarily know if our defensive line is set up to dominate, but I think that they will be one of the best pass rushing interiors on the defensive side in the NFL. So there is that. So I want domination. I want to be able to run the ball really well. I want to be able to at least hold their run game, to average, and then just be really dominant in terms of rushing the passer. And then I want no big plays from Caleb Williams. I get so sick and tired of these freestyle type quarterbacks where they can't. And Aaron Rodgers is probably like the most famous, off schedule quarterback of all time. Well, Tarkenton, but Aaron Rodgers is a close second, where it's just he never seems to be great when he plays within structure. It's always when he's rolling out, making things happen, and that's when the big plays happen. And that's a fear of mine with Caleb Williams, is that he's the kind of guy who wants to freelance, he wants to roll out and make big plays. And if we could just not give up any big plays tonight to him, that would be happy. That's what I want. So then, what I expect competency. We're a well-coached team. We're loaded with a lot of veterans. Okay, it's a really well-constructed roster. I just want our team to have the look of a veteran team that's ready to go out and win games and compete this year. That's all I want. Just show me competency, minimize mistakes, be good in every facet of the game, win, solid, be good. And then finally, what I'll settle for is a close, sloppy, ugly game, typical of the Bears, typical of Soldier Field. Win by a score or less. But just get the win. Make a couple of mistakes here and there, but just get the win. I don't care. Winning ugly is okay. I think we have the kind of team that can win, just like the way Kwesi talked about before the offseason really began. He's like, I want to build a team that can win many different ways. And so I think we have that. And so if it's got to be close, sloppy, ugly, fine. Just win the game. Because at the end of the day, when you're at the end of the year and you're trying to figure out who's going into the playoffs, it just looks like a win on the in the standings. It doesn't say, oh, and by the way, you look terrible. It's like, just get the win. So that's what I'll settle for. So anyway, just a few hours to go here. Vikings at Chicago Bears. First game of the year. JJ McCarthy. It's going to be a lot of fun. So as always, play vicious, be victorious. Peace. Thanks for watching the Regular Guy Vikings Hour. If you enjoyed this video, please interact with my content, such as liking, subscribing, or even commenting. And when you're done with that, come say hello to me over on my social media platforms. Thanks.